It's actually funny. This is an old lawyer fucking thinking haunt.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
This was like a seaside thing or something, but
I mean, we used to come up here back in the day of just, when we're fucking in our heads a lot, working on paperwork, working on
oh,
cases.
I see. Yeah. So yeah, I've been looking over the stuff, right? So the reason why I had you look over the statute of limitations
Yes.
piece was that there's a specific wording where it does allow them to use. Or actually, wait, let me back it up a little bit. In your experience, how things out of statute were they ever used to build a pattern? Like any info
So
that's out of statute.
if they were charged with it and convicted of it, that could be used to establish a pattern. But it's generally, if it's not something that if they weren't charged with it and they weren't convicted of it, it cannot be used as exculpatory evidence to influence one way or another. Meaning it falls under the prior bad acts.
Pred was never charged for any of these.
Not for the guns, no.
He never had a felony.
I think he did, but I think he got it expunged. But even with that though, like if you look again, looking through some of their what they classified as recovered gun bullshit, he was never charged for any of those.
Yeah.
No warrants, no charges, nothing. And they themselves said they found 2 guns within the last couple of weeks, but hadn't found any for months prior. So everything prior is out the window. All they have is the 2 guns or whatever from the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And not only that too, what's very misleading about it is that they said that Pred hasn't reported a gun stolen since July 1st. He lost his first weapons license in July.
Yeah.
But they said we found 5 over the next few months. That's very misleading.
How could he report a gun stolen when he couldn't purchase a firearm?
Exactly. And not only that too, they did a bank subpoena. There wasn't more than one purchase that looks like a weapon, and that was in October.
Yeah, the other one, there was a gun, and then there was, I think, a wrench, is what Pred said.
And that gun that he bought was the one he surrendered, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And they have no bank statements prior to that.
No.
Well, actually, it doesn't even matter. They didn't even include a bank statement in the warrant, so it doesn't matter. It's all just random incident reports, reports thrown in there.
It's conjecture and circumstantial evidence at best, meant to literally confuse and influence a judge. And from my understanding, the previous judges they went to denied it because there was not enough probable cause.
And not only that too, I lost my train of thought on. I had something, I lost it. I saw something shiny on my goggles, and I lost it. Never mind.
I understand.
Yeah. So I feel like, oh no, I wanted to point out that even in the current legislation where they allowed warrants to reference things, for one, like you said, he was never convicted of any of these, so technically he can't be used against him.
No.
Number 2,
he was never convicted or even charged with the guns.
Yeah. So if we go back, any warrant referencing evidence older than 30 days must justify the relevance and necessity of the older evidence in supporting the current charges.
Yeah, let me pull up the actual warrant again really quick.
They might be a little relevant, but I don't think they ever justify the necessity of the older evidence.
No, they did. They literally start off by saying he has a large number of firearms, or has had, 10 to be precise, recovered in crimes by members of the PD. And he's reported a stolen weapon on 4 separate occasions, in which 2 of the 4 came back to members of the besties.
I feel like
the only reports that they list are the 2 recent ones.
Yeah.
That they recovered.
You know what's even crazier? Read down into the when they use the legislation on the 2 guns. When he says he has more than 2 guns at once, read when he had the possession of those. Read what they could prove when he had the possession of those 2 guns. Look at the dates.
Yeah, that was 5 fucking months ago. Almost 6 months ago.
There's no way in hell a judge will legitimately sign off on this on a piece of legislation that was enacted on July 10th and retroactively
It can't be retroactively applied.
Exactly.
Legislation can only be applied post facto moving forward. It cannot be retroactively applied to crimes. That is literally goes against everything.
You literally see them right here saying firearm was in possession 4/8, firearm was in possession 4/29. And you know what's funny? The one thing, let's even assume that they can retroactively do it, right? The one report I'm questioning Peters on is the People's U. The last stolen fire, or not the last, but the stolen firearms, they said that doesn't count, and said it was like a false reporting of the wrench. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That one never mentions a serial number. That one was reported, I think, around this time frame where it could have been one of these guns he lost.
And again, it's not a fucking firearm; it's a wrench. Is what it came back to.
And his statement never mentions a serial number. So how's it false reporting when all he's required to do is saying, my firearm was stolen from me. Here is me making the report. That's all the legislations, even till now, ever dictates you to do when you lose it.
Yeah, no, how are you gonna remember the fucking serial number of your firearm when it's been stolen?
How can you even say
how
can you say he gave you the wrong serial number when he never gave it in the statement?
Yeah.
So even if they somehow let this retroactive stuff go, he still has a weapons report that covers one of these two weapons because they never used it before. So he has a free one right there to cover something that they proved that report could be applying to those two guns, to one of those two guns, because it's within that time frame. So realistically, he might only have one hot gun. Or criminally negligent gun.
But regardless, it still invalidates the search warrant, which invalidates everything.
But these are things we could bring up that basically just invalidates all of it. Do you think it's risky if we bring it up during the preliminary hearing to just knock it out? Or should we just wait till the day of?
I mean, we can definitely file a motion to exclude and request a hearing on it. And that way, regardless, we're going to get more information before we go to trial. Yeah. And we need to pay very close attention to the things that they say during the preliminary hearing, because obviously he has people that he wants to put on the stand that we don't know about yet. And those are going to be people that are going to corroborate this and that are going to blow holes in it. And essentially, we could get people under perjury, possibly. Now, granted, most of them are not going to apply, perjury charges on their other officers, because that's always been a thing that they've never wanted to do.
That's why we have the marshals, right? Oh, wait.
Yeah. But it is definitely something that I think needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Fred's been asking for an omnibus hearing for the search warrant.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
So either way, even if we let the logical faults fall through, another one always comes and knocks it down. Because oh my god. So let's assume, right, if we kill this entire thing, right, if we kill the search warrant, that would mean the embezzlement and all that stuff wouldn't fall through, because all that stuff would be fruit of the poisonous tree.
Correct.
Then he'd be looking at just one or two criminal negligence then.
Yeah. I mean, and who's to say that the two guns they found weren't one of the 4 reports that he made prior? It doesn't reference when those 2 guns were purchased that he's being charged with.
Wait a minute, hold on. They said... I'm sorry, I just realized they said that they said that he hasn't reported a firearm stolen since July 1st. And the one that I'm looking at is...
Hold on. Pull up the expungement legislation and send me a copy really quick. Now, what's listed as a heinous act in the heinous act guidelines?
Pretty much anything above second-degree murder, terrorism, serial killings.
Does any of that involve anything Pred was charged with in any of these reports.
These were mostly just gang-related shootings, I think. Just by eyeballing, though. I didn't take too deep of a dive into it, but these were mostly gang-related.
Attempted murder of a government employee.
Yeah. Gang-related shootings or like attempted murders.
No, but what I'm saying is the attempted murder under the heinous act guidelines?
No. It's straight up if you actually pull it off.
So I'm gonna send you something really quick.
Okay. Yeah, the only things his guns come back to is accomplice to criminal use of a firearm and accomplice to robbery.
Read that. They cannot bring up anything that's been expunged because an expungement makes it as if it never happened.
Is this like a by definition, or is this in the...
Yeah, by definition. And they cite expungement. They do not define expungement except for the fact that it says some charges are not eligible to be expunged. Therefore, if they're not directly defining expungement, then the base definition of expungement takes precedent.
So what I was thinking about earlier, it could... I mean, it's never been... How do I say... clarified, but if that's the base definition.
But that's the thing. They can't clarify it during this case. They would have to dismiss this case and then clarify afterwards.
But then they can bring it up again, can't they?
No. Double jeopardy applies.
Oh.
Because again, they cannot charge something retroactively. So after a change is made, they can't go back and then recharge because of that. So that is setting a precedent, okay?
Yeah.
So when precedent is set, they generally have to create new case law surrounding that because of that precedent. And so making a change to what expungement actually means in their process would be a change requiring a precedent to have been made in court. And they can't convict him of it because there is nothing stating of what expungement is directly defined as other than the actual definition in the legislation.
In order to achieve what's been established in the legislation, it's assuming they're using the base definition then.
Correct. You have to assume that because it was never elaborated on any further. And even they must assume that because it was never elaborated on further. They can't then go back and say, oh, well, we meant something else. Well, then you should have included it in the fucking legislation. And per the document that we got from SAG, they can only make changes to that shit based on, let me get the exact phrasing, to clarify a legal or judicial matter. So the DOJ only has uncontested authority over legal and judicial matters in San Andreas. Clarify a legal or judicial matter. Both must arise from disputes in law as part of a judicial proceeding. Any legislation passed that is uncontested by the DOJ must be grounded in judicial matters and their outcomes. Otherwise, it will need to be passed through a referendum. So they would have to dismiss the case, and then they could go in and clarify what they mean by expungement if they wanted to do that.
Holy shit.
You're welcome.
I had a hunch, but you finished the recipe.
Yeah, brother. This is why I was one of the most hated fucking attorneys by the PD and the DA's office that's ever been in this goddamn city. Because I find their fucking loopholes and I blow them wide the fuck open.
Ajax, where were you when we were paralegals? We needed more of you, man. Where were the OGs?
Dude, pushed out of the city by corrupt justices. Honestly, that's why I left. Because I was tired of fighting the corruption and not getting anywhere, because with the justices back then it was even worse.
I mean, back then it was more of a country club, was it not?
For the justices, if that's what you mean, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a boys' club, and the boys ran roughshod. And trying to fight against them was extremely frowned upon and very difficult. And with the justices and the DA's office, they protected the PD so fucking hard. Like, I'm surprised I won as much money for clients as I did. Like, they literally enacted regulations regarding how much money you could win from the state via lawsuits against the PD because of how much money I kept winning for people. And I had several cases that were turned into case law and had laws changed because I would just beat the shit out of their ineptitude.
I mean, it's the same theme nowadays. I mean, that's probably the reason why I lasted as long as I did, because when I came in and did law and everything as a paralegal, all we really had were some of the older lawyers that were starting to not come around as much, but would try their best to take people along. Like Sebastian Birch took me out a couple times, and he put me on a couple cases like bench trials and stuff like that, and encouraged me to perform. And then Norman Adams had my back here and there to make sure I was doing the right things. And but that was pretty much it. Like, I mean, our only other options were Xavier Monroe, which he treated me more like, I mean, he's cool and all, but he treated me more like an errand boy than a paralegal. Shaban was the type to, if you had no use for her, then she would just kind of put you at the wayside.
Yep.
And the rest I just forgot about.
Yeah, see, back in the day, I think I took on like 3 paralegals before I quit, trying to get them through the process and to get them into being bar certified. And I couldn't even tell you who they are anymore. I don't even know if they're around. But yeah, we started doing that process because law school was a bit more difficult to keep running. I mean, it took up a lot of time. And us as the lawyers, we spoke with some of the judges and just felt that it would be better to have people get, on the job practice, on the job training with it. And it worked well because, it really vetted out the people that wanted to put in the work and the people that didn't. Because, I mean, like I was saying earlier, you can be a lawyer in the city and not know fuck all and not do fuck all. There's plenty of them. But to be a good fucking lawyer in the city, man, you got to put in the work. You got to do the research. You have to spend time working through the cases you pick up. And you can't be afraid to pick up cases. Like, at any given point during, like, my prime run, I was working anywhere from 5 to 10 cases at a time. And that's criminal defenses, civil lawsuits, the works. And I mean, and that's also because there weren't very many competent attorneys, so people were paying me big fucking money, even back then, to lock me up and get me on their shit. And I would like to see more of that from people, putting themselves out there and, like, hey man, this motherfucker knows his shit. He's doing a good job. Lock this dude up with a let's get a retainer agreement put together. So, you are my attorney for everything.
Yep.
And I think I had like 25 or 30 retainers for different people and crews throughout the city. And and that was every month. So sometimes I had to do work, sometimes I didn't, but I still got paid.
Yeah, the only one that has that ability now is Robin.
Yeah.
Especially out of the new guys, Robin would be the one. Me, I'm not very good with the court theatrics, unless I have time to write it down and read off of it. But my strength is just reading. Like, I basically just went off of what Pred taught me. The PD are idiots. That's step 1. Step 2, read what they wrote. Step 3, smash it.
Yep. And the court theatrics, unfortunately, that is a big part of it. When you're in court, you don't have time to, I mean, yeah, you want to be taking notes for your rebuttals and things like that, but you've got to be able to just think and act on the fly.
I'd be a really good active listener and a good responder to it. My thing is, I take too long to ponder.
Yeah, you've got to be able to push objections out there quickly, because otherwise, each side is going to try to get away with shit all the time. And I don't give a fuck who it is. I don't give a fuck if it's the DA, it's the defense. They both try to take as many liberties as possible, because that's how you win the case, is by getting things in and the other side not saying shit. Like anytime I'd be cross-examining a witness, it was known that I was treating them as a hostile witness. And like after the first few rounds of asking permission, I would just just go up and judge. Are you going to treat them? Yep, exactly. And that's how it goes. That way you can get more accusatory in your questions, and you can be a bit more indirect, and you can lead a bit more. It treating someone as a hostile witness allows you a lot more freedom with how you ask and how you frame your questions, and it gives you a much better means of defending your client.
Well, it would allow you to basically lead, no? Or is it just like...
No, it allows you to lead. Treating them as hostile, it allows you to lead.
Yeah, because I'm that was one of the things that's... Because I know Siobhan made me do the whole, do the My Cousin Vinny thing and, watch the movie and whatnot, and he did treat Melissa Tomei as like as a hostile witness, and that allowed a lot of leading, so...
Yes,
I think this was my first opportunity to use that card.
And that's, as a defense attorney, you want to be able to lead as much as possible, because you're the one painting the picture. Generally, you want short, concise answers from anyone that you're cross-examining. So you want to be able to lead them to the conclusion that you want the jury or the judge to hear. When you're on your direct questioning, that's when you ask more open-ended, vague questions and let your client weave their story. And then you just keep supporting that with more questions.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And it just takes practice, man. It takes practice and getting comfortable with it. And yeah. And once you start getting comfortable with it and you get better at it, you start having fun with it. And then you're just firing off on everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Robin is the guy that got to that stage, because he's a very good active listener. I love having him with me on cases, because for me, I'm the type, because I like to do a lot of programming as like my main thing. So I have always been in the... I mean, I pretty much got conditioned to ponder on things, like problem cases, and just methodically, like, iron it out from there.
Yep.
But being in the courtroom, while that works for preparation, being in the courtroom, it's like, you got to be an active listener. You got to be on the ball.
Yeah, you have to be on your toes 100%. You are in a boxing match, and you've got to be able to fucking duck and jive and dance and run with it.
Yeah, but I think we have a lot on the table right now, especially with the expungement definitions, and then what we have with the, ultimately, a shit warrant.
Yeah, and with what we just put forth, it blows that warrant up entirely, because it gets rid of all probable cause.
They didn't even look at his statements, or his bank statements. Holy shit. I used to think we had a sidewalk to walk on with the search warrant and everything, because I thought we had a lot of room. I didn't know we had an entire highway to fucking... of a highway worth of room to, like, work with this thing. Like, this is bad. This is bad for them. I'm gonna be real. And when we figure out who the fuck signed those papers... Oh, and then Pred told us today in the barn that Angel was there. Oh, man. Not again.